Okay, let's get started. Greetings, fellow scientists. I'd like to welcome you all. Sorry, I can't speak. I'd like to welcome you all to the Wisconsin Science Festival online field trip. My story in STEM so far. Thank you for joining us today. We're ready to get started. My name is Gerard. I'm on the Wisconsin Science Festival team, and we're here with our special guests. We have Kayla, Donna, and Chris. They'll be doing our field trip experience with us today. So how you can participate today, there will be a Q&A function below your screen. And anytime you would like to ask a question, please feel free to add the question in there, and questions will be sent to me, and I will be sure to get them out as we are having a conversation. Today's conversation will be more of a free flow. We'll just be kind of just vibing, talking, having open conversation. So feel free to join, like I said before, but also that will be the same for our panelists as they talk about kind of their journey in STEM. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Our panelists will go ahead and introduce themselves, do a little quick intro, and then we'll move from there. So let's see, let me pick. Donna, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Donna. I'm a second year grad student at UW-Madison, and I'm in the cancer biology program, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Cool. Donna, do you have a fun fact about yourself?
My fun fact is that my parents took pictures of the wrong girl during my high school graduation. Yeah.
That's sad, but that's really funny though. Kayla, would you like to go next?
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Kayla. I'm a second year grad student in the Pharmaceutical Sciences program. My research is using nanoparticles for gene therapy and cancer, and I'm a California native. So a fun fact about me is being from California, I really miss tacos. So if anyone, the fact that I have not found a good taco spot yet. So still on the search about that. So kind of a fun fact-ish, kind of.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
Oh, nice.
You guys can add that in the Q&A, a good taco spot here in Madison. Chris, would you like to go ahead?
I'm next. Hey everybody, I am a second year grad student in the genetics program, and I study how fungi talk to each other. A fun fact about myself is that I love to cook, but I'm also really bad at it. So. Oh, and I was raised in Miami, Florida.
What is your favorite thing to cook?
I love baking cupcakes. Again, bad at it. It comes out burnt.
Right. Well, welcome, y'all. I appreciate you guys joining on the conversation today. Let's just start off with like a really basic question. My question I first want to start off with was, how did you guys get into STEM? And how did your family nurture that?
I could start. I don't know. There's like no defining moment that like got me into STEM. It was just kind of like in my elementary school, we didn't have a designated science class, so we only did sciences on special days. And I think my first moment really like doing a science class was when they brought out the light microscopes. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, you know, like single eyepiece, and you're looking at like that like water plant or onion cells, and it just kind of like blew my mind that like there was a whole different world that was within that microscope. And it just kind of carried me through like high school and college. And actually, when I was an undergrad, my first research position or the lab that I joined was a microscopy lab. So it was perfect. You know, I built off of that onion cell, and I got to see cells in motion, and we use fluorescent proteins, so they're like in the most beautiful, bright colors. Yeah, so I think it was just always a feeling that I had that I just wanted to be in science because it interested me the most. And as far as nurturing, I'm the only person in my family that's really in the sciences. So like I didn't really have anyone to kind of talk to about this, and my family was just happy that I was doing something. So there wasn't like a specific nurturing of me into science, but they were just supportive of whatever I wanted to do. And I think that was really important for me.
Yeah, for me, so my kind of journey into science is kind of long-winded, but really it started from elementary school. So I don't know if they still do this now, but they would do these kind of timetable competitions where, you know, who can um, fill out the timetable sheet the fastest. And it was like a really competitive thing. And so I really enjoyed doing that. Like I figured out that I enjoyed math. Um, but however, like when I went to community college and, you know, I kind of had to take those higher level math classes, I had a double think and I was like, do I really, you know, love math that much? So that's when, after taking a psychology course and kind of learning more about mental health disorders and about kind of the medications that they have to, that are kind of offered to them and the potential severe side effects that can happen, it made me really think like, why aren't there better options out there for people? And so that's kind of where my path switched from kind of, before it was engineering, but to biochemistry. So really studying the how chemical processes are involved in living organisms. So that was kind of how I got into science. And my family has always supported kind of really anything that I wanted to do. So they were really helpful in that aspect. Same with Donna. I'm also kind of the only one in the science field. So it was really kind of different to kind of go really know the path of how achieving a career in science goes. But yeah, they've always been very supportive. So.
Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit different. I come from a very religious household. So I think me getting into STEMs at a young age was more about being maybe like a lighthearted, rebellious youth. So my parents were deeply against the concept of evolution. So naturally, when I was able to, I joined a evolution lab. And while there, I fell in love with science. The idea of asking a question and being able or having the skills to figure it out was really rewarding. So I decided to pursue it, and my parents are super cool with it now.
Awesome. We're only, I would say, a few minutes in, and we already got a comment that said, not a question, but this is cool. So this is going really well so far, y'all. So shout out to whoever wrote that. We have one question from Vivian. She said, if you could tell anyone who wants to do this, but what would you say? I think it meant, if you could tell anybody who wants to do this work, what would you say?
I would say seek out a mentor, find someone who's doing what you want to do. Definitely look out for programs that are kind of originated in, their goal is to get you where you want to be. So for me, like in college, I joined a program called Mark and Rise. So their goal was really helping students successfully get into graduate school. And being a first generation student, I'm the only one in my family who really just even got my my bachelor. So definitely I couldn't turn to them to find out what I need to do in order to successfully get into graduate school. So how I got into that program was by reading a flyer that was posted. So, you know, in college, there's these flyers about all these different things going on. And it was good that I looked at that flyer and I read it and that I applied for that program, because that significantly helped me be where I am today. So.
I would have to say that if you're interested in getting into STEM, the real starting point is when you enter into college. And I would recommend, you know, trying to join labs and really expose yourself to that research environment to figure out if you really want to do that. And I know it's a daunting thing to join a lab, but you can either join a listserv. Most biology departments will advertise which labs are looking for undergrads, Or you can go into the department website and begin looking at professors and seeing, you know, which ones have the research that you are interested in. And the thing is, it's really scary and really daunting for some reason to email a professor and be like, hey, you know, I'm interested in working in your lab, but it works. And actually, a lot of the times, you know, they probably won't reply the first time. So you have to email them again. And that's actually how I joined my first lab. I had to email the person twice. And I think just showing tenacity and just showing that you're really enthusiastic, any professor should respond positively to that. So yeah, so I think if you want to join STEM, just expose yourself to it just to make sure that this is the right direction that you want to go into.
Yeah, I would agree. I think what I would do is just look for your resources. Even in high school or middle school, I'm sure there's science clubs, and they are great places to start.
We had a personal question for you, Chris, from Connor. He says, Chris, how do fungi talk to each other?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, they don't speak words to each other, but they use their own methods for communication. And it can be a range of things, but specifically, I focus on how they use chitin. How it basically it's just like a sugar molecule that they sort of expose to each other, and it induces some sort of signaling cascade, which we would consider communication. I hope that answers your question, Connor.
Connor, if you have any more questions about that, please feel free to add in the Q&A. And then, let's see, this one is anonymous. So it says, what was your favorite thing that you learned in school?
Oh, I learned something super cool recently in my immunology class. So we have this type of immune cells called neutrophils, and they basically just kind of go around. They're like Pac-Man. They just like eat all the little like bacteria or any of the dead cells, or like sometimes I think maybe even tumor cells. Maybe, don't quote me on that. But yeah, they just go around eating the bad things in your body. But the really cool thing about it is that neutrophils don't just eat the bad things. What they can do is they can trap the bad things. So apparently, especially for COVID-19 right now, what they've seen is that neutrophils, they take their DNA and they kind of vomit it out, and they use that DNA as a net to trap like the COVID-19 virus particles or the cells that are infected with COVID-19, which I thought was really cool. That's me nerding out.
I was going to say, Donna, you had a lot of passion answering that, which I love. That was amazing. Kayla, Chris, did y'all have anything to add on to that question?
The coolest thing I learned, mine is kind of more general, I think. So in like biochemistry, I think what's really like cool and fascinating is that how everything has like a pathway. Like there's all these cells in our brain, cells in our skin, cells in different organs that are like all happening all at once. And it's so intricate and kind of amazing. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I have something I recently learned, and it's basically that there's a type of fungi that can dissolve gold underground, and it's able to re-solidify it and secrete it on its body. So it's basically just wearing gold as it's spreading. So that was pretty cool.
Does the gold do something to protect it?
I think he just uses it as some sort of form of nutrition. Yeah. I think he uses some sort of carbon molecule.
All right. Michaela had a question. They said, how is working in STEM going how is working in STEM going? And I would add on to that, you know, how is STEM going so far, especially as people of color?
Like like during this COVID-19 pandemic, or?
I think maybe. It's kind of really just a question stops. So let's assume that, yeah, it's during the COVID.
I have to say, like, as a second year grad student in general, I think research for me will always be hard, just because, like, I've recently joined a lab and I'm still trying to figure out what to do, and like I'm still trying to understand my research projects, and I'm balancing classes. But with COVID-19, I think it's been really isolating, and there was even talk about how like some of our supplies have been slowing down. So we need to be more conservative with like what we're doing. And for me, I work with mice, and when the quarantine first started, what we did was we had to kind of limit our population of mice so we could, better take care of things. But now, as things are popping or growing back up, I have to wait for all these mice to create new babies and like create more mice for me to work with. So it's kind of delayed me, I think. Like I was hoping to graduate maybe in 5 years, so now I might graduate in 6 or 7 years. I don't know if that's the answer that you're looking for.
For me, well, at least pre-COVID, I would say it was going well. It was definitely like a learning experience, kind of a learning curve, getting into the swing of things of how like what's expected of you, and kind of just kind of getting used to the lab you're in and things like that. And then similar to what Donna said, like definitely post-COVID, and it really slowing I guess to the full capacity of research you can do. It kind of makes you feel like, oh, well, I should be here right now, but I'm not. And that can get you down a little bit. But I think being a person of color in STEM, it can feel isolating, just that alone, but COVID or not. But definitely the fact that there's different groups on campus, specific for people of color, to really congregate and kind of discuss about anything that they're going through is really helpful, and kind of helps bring the community aspect.
Yeah, so for me, I would also say the same. Pre-COVID things, it was a learning curve, but I mean that's expected. We're new and we're picking up new skills. If it wasn't hard on us, we probably would have gotten our PhD. We wouldn't have needed to be in the program. And just as things were starting to go smoothly, the pandemic hit. So we got a little bit of a setback. So Donna, I do feel you about doing an extra year than we expected. Yeah. But I think we're getting the hang of it again. So maybe in its own new way, it's going smoothly.
Kind of to the basics, we had a question that says, what is your guys' favorite color?
Can you repeat that? What's favorite color?
What is your favorite color?
Oh, my favorite color is blue. I have 2 sweaters that are like this really like beautiful bright blue, and I recently bought a coat the same color. So this winter I'm gonna be just blue all the time.
I think mine is black. Sorry.
Very good.
95% of my wardrobe is black clothing. Just keep it simple.
I like the color green. Not because of money, just such a nice warm color.
This question isn't for me, but I'm going to answer anyway. I love red because red is the best. So yeah. Question from Emma: is there any people who inspires you to be more interested in science, either someone in your personal life or any famous person?
So I remember that when I was in elementary, middle school, Bill Nye was a big person in my life. But as a person, I think it would be the advisor of my first lab. He was very very good at guiding me and telling me when something was a good idea or when it was a bad idea. Yeah, he was a good force of science. I think he really helped me get into science.
I think for me, there wasn't really a person. Definitely like the movies, any kind of scientific movies, like whether it was like outer space or kind of those type of movies, really, I guess, kept my interest in science. And but the advisement from my first professor, who I was researching in his lab, he definitely helped support my interest in science.
I think for me, I feel like my interest in science was always there, but my confidence to pursue science was something that I really had to develop. And definitely my first research advisor was key to helping me really, I guess, believe in myself. And, she took the time to really teach me. So yeah, but I think also, not just inspiring me to start science, but I think even now I'm constantly inspired by women in science, because I just think about like how hard it must have been for them to have started, because, I guess in the beginning of the century, like women weren't even allowed to be in college. And then, the women that pushed to, attend college and then attend PhD programs and then push to become faculty, just knowing that like hardship that they've gone through continues to inspire me, because, I don't want to waste all their hard work. I just want to keep pushing it so I can, make science more accessible for all women too. And then recently with the Nobel Prize, 2 women won the Nobel Prize in chemistry, I believe. And I think it was like the first time like women completely dominated a category in the Nobel Prize. And that was incredibly inspiring to me. By the way, they won the Nobel Prize in developing CRISPR, which, has completely revolutionized the way that we do biology and maybe other sciences as well.
CRISPR is a huge deal. We talk about CRISPR a lot within the building and with a lot of programming that we do. I'm sorry, I was looking through the questions. Did everybody get to answer that question? Cool. A good follow-up question with that one is from Hayden. They said, are you good at science?
I think, Hagen, great question. The thing about science is that to be good at science, you have to be bad. Because science is all about making mistakes and just learning from them. So like for us, or for me, whenever I do an experiment, before I do that experiment, I have to really plan it. And I always anticipate the first time I try the experiment to not work at all. And then from there, have to troubleshoot, figure out like, is the temperature right? Have I used too much of this chemical? And just figuring that out, I am able to develop this one experiment perfectly for what I want it to do. So yeah, science is all about making mistakes. So to be good at it, you gotta be kind of bad.
Seems like you all agree with that answer.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything more you want to add upon that. Well, cool. Kian asked an interesting question. Would and could you show us something you are working on or worked on in the past? Yeah, we didn't prep you guys to bring anything with you, but unless there's something nearby or something you want to, I guess, a quick explanation of something you've done in the past, then go from there.
I need to have time to scroll through my photos.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can always come back to that too. So if you guys something pop in your head, we'll come back to that. So yeah, Donna, we got a personal question for you. Why would you move from Cali to Wisconsin?
I think, and everyone's really surprised by this, but I love the cold.
What?
I love the cold. I love walking around and not being able to feel my face. Kind of cold. I don't love the snow because everything's really slippery. And I'm always afraid of falling, but I love being cold. And also, so I'm from LA. And the thing about LA is that there's just too many people. So there's constantly traffic and it's always on fire. I know you've probably read about the fire this year, but every year there's a fire. That's just how our ecosystem works. But also climate change has made it a lot worse. But LA is not as great as you think it is. And I think, you know, Wisconsin is like so naturally beautiful too. And that's just kind of something that you don't immediately get when you're in LA.
Question around therapy. This is anonymous. Does therapy help with different kinds of pain and mental diseases like anxiety or depression?
I feel like Kayla should answer that one.
Yeah, I think the overall answer to that would be yes. There's numerous studies behind specific ways how to deal with stress and anxiety that are proven based on science. And so definitely if that's something that anybody suffers from, you can seek a therapist who can give you those tools to be able to better deal with the stress and anxiety.
I like this question. It says, what is your favorite part of, I'm sorry, I'm asking this question incorrectly. What is your favorite part of STEM? Like basically, what is your favorite parts of like each letter of STEM?
So for me, so the S, the science, I think my favorite part is discovering something no one else has ever, you know, discovered before. So that's kind of like, to me, what science kind of is epitome of. And then technology is having the instruments to be able to analyze whatever data that you get. And so technology is definitely important because the more fancier technology there is, the more cooler maybe results or kind of findings that you can get. Engineering for the E, I think the cool part about that is creating something new. Again, so developing things that either work a better way, or I think really it's kind of that work a better way. That's kind of the main goal in that. I think that's cool. And then for the mathematics, math is needed for everything. So yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'll focus on the technology part because I think that's been my favorite part and one that I wasn't really expecting. You come into STEM, especially if you're in the sciences, the life sciences, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna focus on animals or cells, and then, but I mean, now I come in and there's a big skill set that you need to earn, which is a computer skill, just to analyze all your data. But it wasn't as daunting as I thought it'd be. It kind of rewarding just to be able to just move your data around with your computer.
I was trying to just think about how to distinguish technology from engineering. So I feel like they kind of come hand in hand. But it's also the thing about STEM. It's like just to separate them into their different fields. I don't know. It's hard because I think science is built on a very collaborative environment. We all work together to kind of like help improve. So like I couldn't do science without the technology and engineering and math. But okay, sorry. Let me really try. Science, the collaboration. Technology, I like that it's made life a lot easier. Uh, engineering, I like that they really like push the boundaries of engineering and really challenge themselves to do more. Like when I think of engineering too, I also think of like them building bridges and also like skyscrapers and how they keep competing to build the tallest skyscrapers. That's very cool. And math is a language. It's language I don't understand really well, but I think, you know, when you can understand the theory of it, it can be so beautiful. But yeah, okay.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, we've gotten to a point where all four of those have sort of gone intertwined.
Yeah, I can't do my research without all four of
Yeah.
the letters.
All right. This is very random, but Iverson asked me, he said, Gerard, do you know my dad, Barry? Iverson, I believe I do, actually. So, so that was really brave for you to ask that question. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And then, let's see, Kariana, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They asked, who is your favorite scientist? These kids are good. You guys are asking some good, brave, breaking questions.
That's a good question.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really think about scientists. I think about their science, but I don't think about actual people.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite science? I think that would be appreciated as well.
Microscopes. So, okay, the thing about microscopes or like current microscopy technology is that, so the challenge is how can we see even smaller? And I feel like, you know, from 2010 beyond, I think technology or advancements in microscopy have really increased. So we've gone to super resolution microscopes now. And I think, you know, that technology is really cool. And actually, there's one PI here. So instead of making the microscope be able to look at things really small, the idea is just to make that object bigger. And it's a really cool theory. It's inspired by the polymer that's in diaper. So, you know, like when the polymer hits liquid, it starts to expand. So what you do is you can put a cell into that polymer, dissolve it so the cells are kind of in pieces, but they're still together, right? But as you're expanding the gel, the pieces of the cell, you know, they're spreading and they get bigger and bigger. Does that make sense? I don't know if you've ever seen that like ball of wires, but you know when you have it tiny, you have a ball, right? And you pull it out and the wires make the ball like even more bigger. That's kind of that idea of the diaper polymer cell thing. But yeah. It's called expansion microscopy if you guys want to Google it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got caught up looking at the question. Another quick question that came up was, what if you could pick an experiment of your choice, what would it be?
How to cure cancer.
And why? I'm adding that myself.
Because because cancer affects so many people, and although there's better treatment options there that work for a lot of people, there's still a lot of people where it's ineffective.
I had like one very specific experiment in my head just because I'm writing a grant and I recently took it out because all of my PIs are telling me it's not feasible. But basically, I want to track the cell's development in mice. And the only real way I can do it right now is if I sacrifice the mice, take that like tissue and stain it. But, you know, I really ideally want to continue to track the cell's development in the mouse over a period of time. So again, it's another microscopy technique, but it's called intravital microscopy. So somehow you're able to like put the mouse to sleep, kind of open up its body, and you're using fluorescent probes, and you're able to just kind of take videos of the cell moving actually in the mice. So the reason it's not feasible is that we don't have that technology available at UW-Madison, but I think it can be done.
I would go with, I would choose an experiment to make symbiotic associations stronger. So a lot of my work is in the context of agriculture. And of course, one of my big goals would be to make food crops much hardier to survive, climate change and pathogens. And the fungi that I work with, they are ones that like to become friends with plants, and they help each other and they make each other stronger. So if I find a way to enhance those associations, we could have stronger plants.
Donna, kind of going back to what you said earlier about the code, you have a ton of fans that have been filling up the Q&A saying, I love code, I love code, I love code. So you're not the only one, which I thought you were the only one. And then we have another comment from an anonymous person. They said, I'm not usually into science, but you guys make it so interesting that I want to learn more. So that's awesome. Thank you guys so much again for being able to join in and have this conversation and answer these questions. Okay. Chris, personal question for you.
Yeah.
Does your family support your path in science now?
They're very proud of how far I've been able to go. But there's still like that barrier. They hold these very strong religious beliefs. So when I discuss things like evolution, it's a very touchy subject for them. They don't believe it. So but we have a good relationship. It's just a matter of like understanding each other's boundaries when we are communicating.
Good way to navigate that. Emma asks, what have you been doing when you're not working to stay busy during the pandemic?
I'm like Chris. I also really like cooking. So I've been doing a lot of baking. I don't know if it's good, but I bake.
So I guess oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, I have a roommate who eats my food and he tells me when it's good or bad, and it's mostly bad. I'm a good critic.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I guess we're a group of cooks because I also enjoy cooking and I've been cooking when I can. So definitely horrible at baking though. I can't bake anything. So
That's really surprising because they say that like baking is like science, but I don't think so.
I would say it is a science. You just gotta get the recipe down. It takes trial and error and multiple times to do it over and over again. And even though it's bad, you keep going, right? So
though I would say though that when you're cooking, there's the added pressure that you're gonna have to eat what you make at the end of the day.
That is very true. And another anonymous question, kind of related to the pandemic again. People are just, a student asked, "How's everybody doing during this pandemic? Like, what how are you guys doing, and how are you navigating throughout this time?"
I think I'm lucky that I wasn't a first year coming into the pandemic. That I've had a year to kind of establish friendships and create a community for myself at UW-Madison. So, we're such a small group. We keep it pretty safe. So it's been nice just kind of like going on walks or maybe having a dinner. And just really working on building our relationship. So I've been good.
Yeah, I think for me, it, the pandemic was initially kind of stressful. You know, you're isolated, you can't go to work. Um, but I think just things like reaching out to your friends or to your labs. I've had like a lot of like playing Scrabble over Zoom with my lab. So we make it work.
Yeah, I think for me in the beginning, it was definitely difficult. Just kind of the anxiety of it all, of, something that we don't know anything about. And the beginning part was a bit rough, but definitely as we learn more and kind of being able to go to work and, go in the lab and kind of have some type of semi-normal routine has definitely helped.
And Emma wanted to know, would you say you're an extrovert or introvert?
I think I'm an extrovert, but also I'm really awkward, so I act like an introvert.
I'm definitely an introvert.
I would probably say I'm an introvert too. Sometimes I just come into lab like in the middle of the night just so I can have the whole lab to myself and just relax.
Would you say that you have to be an introvert to do STEM?
No.
If anything, you need skills of an extrovert because you work in a team. So
Yeah, I think it's a good balance of both. Like,
Yeah.
it would be introvert to kind of just like be able to be by yourself and hone in on stuff, but also be an extrovert when you're giving presentations and things like that.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually a large part. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I mean, I think you're just gonna say it.
Yeah, that presentations are a large part about being in science. And I think if you're really shy, you kind of have to like really learn to get over it because, as a student here, you're going to have to do presentations like maybe at least twice a year and then lab meetings too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, to anybody who's has that fear of presentations, it's something that you slowly start to get over as the more presentations you do. Because I remember when I was in middle school or high school, I dreaded any type of presentation. But naturally, as you practice and you come prepared, it gets better.
I don't know if this makes it better or worse, that I found that like the older I've gotten and the more presentations I've done, I realized that a lot of the people in the audience aren't paying attention. And especially now that we're presenting over like Zoom or an online platform, I can't even see the audience. So really, I'm just talking to myself.
That's amazing. For one last question, and then we're gonna wrap up because we got about 1 minute left. How do you guys like school so far?
It is rough this year. I felt like my classes my first year were a lot easier. And I think like now my second year, I'm actually taking real classes. So it's been hard finding a balance between doing lab work and like also trying to get a good grade. And like all of our professors tell us that you don't need to get A's in this class. But it's literally, I've been conditioned all my life that, you have to get the best grade that you can get. So I can't stop putting in the effort. But I think classes in and of itself has been really fun as a graduate student.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Classes have been much harder. I think we're in a class together, right, Donna?
Wait, what class? Is it stats or immunology?
Oh no, then we're not. I thought you were in that genetics class. Imagining things. Yeah, but they're much harder this semester. So you have this added skill that you need to develop, which is just trying to schedule everything, lab work, meetings, classes. But it's fun.
Yeah, I think overall it has been going well enough for me to stay in grad school. So yeah.
Nice. Well, that is coming our time. Wow, that went by so fast. Thank you guys so much for joining us today and kind of telling us your story and and giving us all the facts, even your favorite color. We really appreciate it. If there is anything else that you guys want to tell us, please feel free. We are at time, but if we got any last minute quotes, then if not, we'll wrap it on up. Nothing?
Like last minute quotes from us?
Yeah, anything you guys want to share?
Science research is nothing like classes. So I just want to say that research is a lot more fun because, again, like, you know, you're allowed to make mistakes. You're supposed to learn from them. Whereas classes, I feel like you either get it wrong or you're right. So yeah, it's okay if you don't like your classes. You might like research.
And I would say that, I mean, you don't have to be like this brainy prodigy to be a scientist. Anybody who's interested in asking questions and answering them is a scientist.
Yeah, I think to continue off of that, just to not give up in kind of every aspect in the pursuit of your science career while you're doing science, and just to not ever give up.
Cool. Well, audience, thanks for joining us today, guys. Other questions you may have, we'll hopefully be able to get those answered. And until then, for the rest of the week, please feel free to tap on to our website, wisconsinsciencefest.org. There is a bunch of more activities going on all around the city and the state. And yeah, hopefully see you all there, even our presenters. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.